Today, I need to tell you about something that just shattered every assumption American military planners made about this conflict. Iran has broken through the Strait of Hormuz blockade, not attempted to break through, not tested the blockade. Iran has successfully broken through, and the Middle East is now descending into chaos that could reshape the entire global order. According to multiple reports, Iranian naval forces, supported by what appears to be advanced technology from external powers, successfully escorted a convoy of oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz despite the American military presence. American forces did not stop them. American ships did not intercept. American aircraft did not attack. The tankers went through, and the blockade that Trump promised would bring Iran to its knees has been broken. This is not a minor tactical defeat. This is not just one convoy getting through. This is the moment when American military credibility in the Middle East collapsed completely. Because if America cannot enforce a blockade at the single most strategic choke point in the world, with overwhelming naval and air superiority, then what can America actually enforce anywhere? And I need to walk you through very carefully what this breakthrough means, because this is not only about Iran. This is not only about oil. This is about whether American military power can still shape outcomes in critical regions, or whether we have entered an era where regional powers, backed by great power rivals, can defeat American military objectives and survive the confrontation. The answer to that question will determine what happens next in the Middle East, how global energy markets function, whether the dollar maintains its dominance, and what kind of military conflicts your children will face in the coming decades. Let me start by explaining exactly what happened, because the details matter enormously. According to reports, a convoy of approximately 12 tankers, flagged from multiple nations but clearly operating in coordination, approached the Strait of Hormuz from the Persian Gulf. These tankers were escorted by Iranian naval vessels, including fast attack craft and corvettes. But here is what changed everything. These Iranian vessels were operating with electronic warfare capabilities that disrupted American radar and targeting systems. These ships had air defense systems far more advanced than anything Iran previously possessed. And these vessels were operating with coordination and intelligence that suggests real-time satellite data from an external power. When American naval forces moved to intercept, they encountered jamming that degraded their systems. When American aircraft approached, they faced air defense radar that locked onto them with frequencies and capabilities that made engagement extremely dangerous. And when American commanders requested permission to fire, that permission was denied from Washington. Why was permission denied? Because American intelligence determined that firing on these vessels would likely result in American casualties, potential loss of American ships, and possible direct confrontation with the external power providing support to Iran. And the decision was made that allowing the convoy through was less costly than the consequences of stopping it. That decision, that calculation, that moment when America chose not to enforce its declared blockade changed everything. Let me explain why this breakthrough is so devastating to American credibility, because credibility is the foundation of power. For 70 years, American military dominance in the Middle East has rested on one basic premise. When America commits to a military action, America has the capability and the will to follow through. America said it would protect Gulf shipping, and shipping was protected. America said it would enforce no-fly zones, and those zones were enforced. America said certain actions would trigger military response, and those responses happened. This credibility meant that American threats were taken seriously. American demands carried weight. American preferences shaped outcomes even without firing shots, because everyone knew that if push came to shove, America would escalate and America would win. But Iran just called America's bluff and won. Iran defied the blockade. Iran brought in external support. Iran developed capabilities that made American interdiction too costly. And America backed down. Every regional power is watching this. Every American ally is recalculating. Every American adversary is learning the lesson that American military power can be defeated if you are willing to accept the costs and if you have backing from great power rivals. Saudi Arabia is watching and asking, can America actually protect us from Iran? Israel is watching and asking, can we really depend on American military support? The UAE is watching and asking, should we be making deals with Iran instead of confronting them? Turkey is watching and asking, why should we defer to American preferences when America cannot enforce its will? This is not abstract. This is the collapse of the security architecture that has kept the Middle East relatively stable for decades. Now let me walk you through how Iran actually accomplished this breakthrough, because understanding the method shows you who else is involved. Iran did not do this alone. Iran cannot produce the electronic warfare systems that jammed American targeting. Iran cannot launch the satellites that provide real-time intelligence. Iran cannot manufacture the advanced air defense radars that threatened American aircraft. Someone gave Iran these capabilities, and the only powers capable of providing them are China and Russia. Most likely, both powers contributed. China provided satellite intelligence because China needs Iranian oil flowing to protect Chinese energy security. Russia provided electronic warfare technology because Russia wants to demonstrate that American military power can be defeated. Both powers coordinate their support because both powers share the strategic objective of breaking American dominance in critical regions. This means the Iranian breakthrough was not an Iranian victory alone. This was a coordinated great power challenge to American military control, executed through an Iranian proxy at the exact choke point where American control matters most. And it succeeded. Subscribe, because what I am about to explain will determine whether your savings, your job, and your security survive what comes next. The Middle East is erupting into chaos, and that chaos will spread to every corner of the global economy. Let me explain what happens now that the blockade is broken. First, Iranian oil starts flowing again. Tankers that have been stuck in port begin moving. Buyers who have been cut off from Iranian supply reconnect. The Iranian economy, which was facing collapse, gets an immediate lifeline. The pressure that was supposed to force Iran to surrender disappears. Second, every nation that was complying with American sanctions on Iran starts asking, why are we sacrificing our economic interests to support American policy when America cannot even enforce its own blockade? China increases purchases of Iranian oil. India reconsiders its compliance with sanctions. Turkey opens trade channels. European companies start exploring deals. The sanctions regime that America built to isolate Iran collapses because sanctions only work when there is credible enforcement, and American enforcement just failed publicly. Third, Iran becomes emboldened. If Iran can break the American blockade at Hormuz, what else can Iran do? Can Iran increase support for Hezbollah? Can Iran expand influence in Iraq and Syria? Can Iran accelerate its nuclear program without fear of American military action? The answer Iran is drawing right now is yes. Fourth, American allies in the region panic. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, they all base their security on American military protection. That protection just proved unreliable. These nations will now pursue alternative security arrangements. That means making deals with Iran, inviting Russian or Chinese military presence, developing independent nuclear capabilities, or all of the above. The Middle East is about to become much more chaotic, much more militarized, and much less under American control. Now let me address what this means for global energy markets, because this breakthrough changes everything about how energy flows and who controls it. For 50 years, America has controlled global energy by controlling the Strait of Hormuz. That control meant America could guarantee supply to allies and deny supply to adversaries. That control gave the dollar its dominance because oil was priced in dollars and protected by American military power. That control made American preferences matter globally because nations that needed energy had to maintain good relations with America. Iran just broke that control. If tankers can move through Hormuz despite American opposition, then American control over energy flows is gone. If China and Russia can provide capabilities that defeat American interdiction, then American military dominance is gone. If regional powers can defy American blockades and survive, then American leverage is gone. What replaces it? A multipolar energy system where multiple powers compete for control. Chinese naval presence protecting Chinese energy imports. Russian weapon systems defending supply routes. Regional powers playing great powers against each other for protection. Energy priced in multiple currencies as the petrodollar loses its monopoly. This is not theoretical. This is happening right now. China is already building naval bases in the region. Russia is already selling advanced weapons to Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. Gulf nations are already accepting UN for oil sales. The system that gave America global dominance is fragmenting in real time. Let me explain what this means for you personally, because this breakthrough will hit your life in ways you need to prepare for now. If you are in America, understand that your country just suffered a major strategic defeat. American military power has been challenged and found wanting. American credibility is damaged. American allies are questioning their alignment. Your government now faces a terrible choice. Accept this defeat and watch American influence collapse further or escalate dramatically to restore credibility, which means risking wider war. Both options hurt you. If America accepts defeat, the dollar weakens, your savings lose value, your cost of living rises, and your economic security declines. If America escalates, you face the costs of wider war, potential military mobilization, possible attacks on American assets, and economic disruption from sustained conflict. There is no good outcome from this position. If you are in the Middle East, your region is about to become a battlefield for great power competition. American, Chinese, and Russian interests will collide in your countries. Proxy conflicts will intensify. Sectarian tensions will be exploited. Governments will fall. New alignments will form. Your personal security, your economic prospects, your ability to live a normal life, all of it is now at risk. If you are in Europe, you are watching your primary security guarantor fail to enforce its will in a critical region. You should be asking what this means for European security. If America cannot control Hormuz, can America defend the Baltic states? If American military commitments are proving hollow in the Middle East, why would they be reliable in Europe? You need to prepare for a world where European security is Europe's problem, not America's. If you are in Asia, you are watching closely because what happens at Hormuz establishes the precedent for what might happen in the Taiwan Strait or the South China Sea. If regional powers backed by China and Russia can defeat American military objectives, then Chinese calculations about Taiwan change dramatically. The risk of conflict in Asia just increased substantially. If you are anywhere in the developing world, you will pay the price through energy costs, food inflation, economic disruption, and reduced development assistance as major powers focus on strategic competition instead of development support. Now let me walk you through what Trump's options are at this moment, because the next decision Trump makes will determine whether this crisis stabilizes or explodes into regional war. Option 1, accept the breakthrough and adjust policy. This means acknowledging that the blockade cannot be enforced, that Iran has successfully resisted American pressure, and that a negotiated settlement is necessary. Trump would need to offer Iran sanctions relief in exchange for limits on Iranian nuclear program and regional activities. This is the rational option. This is the option that avoids catastrophic escalation. But this is also the option that looks like complete American defeat. Trump would face massive domestic political backlash. His supporters would call it betrayal. His opponents would call it weakness. His credibility would be destroyed. American allies worldwide would question American reliability. This option ends the immediate crisis, but accelerates American decline. Option 2, escalate militarily to restore the blockade. This means attacking the convoy that broke through, striking Iranian naval bases, destroying Iranian air defense systems, hitting the ports where tankers are loading. This option attempts to restore American credibility through overwhelming force. But this option carries enormous risks. Iran would retaliate by striking American bases, attacking Gulf infrastructure, potentially hitting American allies like Saudi Arabia and Israel. The conflict would expand rapidly. Oil facilities across the Gulf would be targeted. Shipping would stop completely, energy prices would explode, and China and Russia, having invested in helping Iran break the blockade, would need to decide whether to let their investment fail or to support Iran more directly. This option could lead to direct great power confrontation. American forces could face Chinese or Russian-supplied missiles, aircraft, and cyber attacks. The risk of miscalculation, of unintended escalation, of catastrophic conflict becomes very real. Option 3, indirect escalation and pressure. This means not directly attacking the convoy, but massively increasing military pressure on Iran through other means. Cyber attacks on Iranian infrastructure, covert operations against Iranian nuclear facilities, expanding support for Iranian opposition groups, tightening enforcement on any nation buying Iranian oil, secondary sanctions on Chinese and Russian companies supporting Iran. This option tries to make Iran pay a heavy price for the breakthrough without direct military confrontation. But this option also guarantees prolonged conflict, continued chaos in the region, sustained high energy prices, and the possibility that indirect conflict escalates into direct confrontation anyway. My prediction is Trump will choose option 3 initially, then be forced toward option 1 when the costs become unbearable. Trump cannot accept the appearance of complete defeat, so he will not immediately choose option 1. But Trump also knows that option 2 could spiral into disaster, so he will avoid direct escalation initially. Option 3 lets Trump claim strength while avoiding immediate catastrophe. But as the costs mount, as allies pressure for resolution, as economic damage spreads, Trump will eventually accept some version of negotiated settlement that tries to frame defeat as deal-making. But that eventual settlement will not change the fundamental reality. American military power failed to enforce American objectives at a critical location. That failure will echo for decades. Let me explain what Iran's successful breakthrough means for the broader global order, because this moment represents a fundamental shift in how power works internationally. For 30 years since the Cold War ended, the global order has operated on one basic rule. America sets the terms, and everyone else adjusts. America decided which governments were legitimate. America decided which conflicts would be allowed and which would be stopped. America decided how energy would flow and who would access it. America decided what rules would govern trade, finance, and security. Other nations might resist quietly, might build alternative systems slowly, might complain diplomatically, but direct confrontation with American military power was avoided because the cost seemed too high. Iran just proved that direct confrontation can succeed. Iran gathered support from great power rivals. Iran developed capabilities that made American military action too costly. Iran forced American decision-makers to choose between accepting defeat and risking catastrophic escalation, and America chose to accept defeat. This will be studied in every military academy, in every foreign ministry, in every strategic planning center around the world. The lesson being learned right now is that American military power can be defeated if you are willing to pay the costs and if you can secure backing from China and Russia. This lesson will be applied in future crises. When China moves on Taiwan, China will use similar tactics. Electronic warfare to degrade American capabilities. Advanced air defenses to make American intervention costly. Backing from Russia to complicate American options, and the calculation that America will ultimately choose to avoid confrontation rather than risk catastrophic war. When Russia expands pressure in Eastern Europe, Russia will apply the same model. Create facts on the ground quickly. Make Western military response extremely costly. Count on Western division and risk aversion to prevent effective action. When regional powers challenge American preferences, they will follow Iran's example. Defy American pressure. Seek great power backing. Develop capabilities that raise the cost of American enforcement. Force America to choose between escalation and retreat. The era of cheap American dominance is over. The era of contested American power has begun. Now let me address the question everyone is asking. Will this lead to regional war or will this crisis stabilize? My assessment is we will see escalating regional conflict short of full-scale war between America and Iran, but with high risk of accidental escalation. Iran will push its advantage. Iranian-backed forces will increase attacks on American positions in Iraq and Syria. Hezbollah will raise tensions with Israel. Houthi forces will strike Saudi targets. Iran will accelerate nuclear development. All of this will happen because Iran senses American weakness and wants to maximize gains. America will respond with targeted strikes. Bases, weapons facilities, command centers. America will try to impose costs without triggering full escalation. But each strike creates risk of miscalculation, of hitting something that crosses an Iranian red line, of provoking a response that America must answer, creating a cycle that spirals beyond control. The most likely flashpoint is Israel. If Iran-backed forces attack Israeli targets, Israel will retaliate massively. If that retaliation threatens Iranian core interests, Iran will strike back. America will be forced to support Israel. Suddenly, the limited conflict becomes a regional war involving multiple nations. The second most likely flashpoint is Saudi energy infrastructure. If Saudi Arabia continues supporting American policy, Iran may strike Saudi oil facilities to demonstrate that American protection is worthless. Saudi Arabia might then demand direct American military action or might collapse the American alliance entirely and make peace with Iran. Either outcome is terrible for American interests. The crisis will not resolve cleanly. The chaos will continue for months, possibly years. Energy prices will stay elevated. Regional tensions will remain extreme. The risk of catastrophic conflict will persist. Let me bring this all together because you need to understand the full scope of what just happened. Iran broke through Trump's blockade at the Strait of Hormuz. This breakthrough was enabled by Chinese and Russian support. American military power proved insufficient to stop it. American credibility collapsed in the eyes of allies and adversaries. The sanctions regime against Iran is falling apart. American control over global energy flows is broken. The Middle East is descending into multi-sided chaos. Great power competition is replacing American dominance. This is not one bad day. This is a turning point in global order. The question is not whether you like this change. The question is whether you understand it and are preparing for it. Prepare for sustained high energy prices. Prepare for increased geopolitical chaos. Prepare for dollar weakness. Prepare for great power competition in multiple regions. Prepare for the possibility of military conflicts that disrupt global trade. Prepare for a world that is more dangerous, more competitive, and less predictable than anything you have known. The blockade was supposed to demonstrate American power. Instead, it demonstrated American limits. Iran called the bluff. China and Russia backed the challenge. America backed down. Everything changes from here. Tell me in the comments, do you think Trump will escalate militarily to restore credibility? Or will America accept this defeat and adjust to a multipolar Middle East? Because your answer to that question determines what kind of world emerges from this crisis. Subscribe for continued analysis as this situation develops, because the Middle East eruption has just begun, and the consequences will reshape everything about how global power works, how energy markets function, and what kind of security you can expect in the coming years. The blockade is broken, American dominance is shattered. The multipolar era has arrived with force, understanding that now is not optional. It is survival.